Okay, wait, stop before you run down to the bottom of the comments and start commenting Joe did nothing wrong, Joe's innocent. Please watch the whole video. This goes through every part of what played out with Angry Joe in this. I'm just putting this little blip of information at the beginning that you need to watch the whole video or you will look very silly in the comments below if you say Joe did nothing wrong, because as you're going to find, this goes with an almost fall of and then a rise back up of Joe Vargas, Angry Joe. And I just want to put that out there before anybody rushes down to the bottom and angrily clicks a comment and posts an angry message just because they saw the title and want to yell at me. Watch the whole video. I promise you'll like it. Joe Antonio Vargas was born June 18, 1984. Better known online as Angry Joe Show, is an American gamer and a reviewer who has uploaded videos since 2008. Until April 2018, he was also a prominent member of the channel Accuser. Joe Antonio Vargas is a YouTuber better known for his comedic, over-the-top reviews of AAA games that started on Blistered Thumbs, the gaming division of ThatGuysWithTheGlasses.com, until he decided to go solo on YouTube. On YouTube, Joe has garnered a ton of popularity for his reviews of Mass Effect 3, Skyrim, Guild Wars 2, Devil May Cry, and Destiny. His popularity eventually led to the creation of the Angry Army, Joe's homepage and gaming clan. Joe has made various cameos on videos from people from ThatGuysWithTheGlasses.com, now called Channel Awesome, and even starred in a Nostalgia Critic's Man of Steel review. Joe considers himself neutral in the console wars. Many people have pointed out Joe's favoritism for PC gaming since 2014. This is further evidenced by several angry rants he released concerning disastrous PC game launches such as Battlefield 4 and Arkham Knight. He is in possession of an Xbox 360, an Xbox One, a PS4, a PS5, a Wii U via donation, Nintendo Switch, and most likely a PC of high scale. His shows include Angry Reviews, Joe's most known show wherein he reviews highly anticipated AAA games and sometimes indie games and explains the game's strengths and flaws while doing short sketches throughout the review with his friend Joe Lopez, also known as Other Joe. At the end of his review, Joe rates a game from 1 to 10. 1 to 10 games usually denote a particularly poor game that is riddled with glitches, stiff controls, flawed game design, and poor story/voice acting, usually labeling such games as epic fail, with a custom sealed image. Out of all his reviews, only 6 games have ever garnered a 1 out of 10. Sonic Freeriders, Mindjack, Ride to Hell Retribution, Star Trek Trexels, Ghostbusters 2016, and Power Rangers Mega Battle. 10 out of 10 scores, on the other hand, usually denote flawlessly executed games that he considers legendary. While he notes that these games have flaws, the pros far outweigh them, and he considers them the must-own games of the year. Out of all his reviews, only 8 games have ever received 10 out of 10. Red Dead Redemption, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Guild Wars 2, The Last of Us, The Witcher 3, Cuphead, Doom Eternal, and Star Wars Squadrons, specifically the version where a player uses VR. Joe has stated that 5 out of 10 usually denotes a relatively average game, the equivalent of a 7 out of 10 for most other game reviews. Joe also, on occasion, gives a badass seal of approval to games of high quality that he highly recommends owning, even if they don't receive a full 10 out of 10. One of his most known traits is how he starts his reviews, in which he can range from a comedic sketch with him lampooning a particular aspect of the game he is reviewing. He sometimes ends the opening by stating, "You done fucked up," which means the game he is about to review has disappointed him and did not live up to the hype and or was mishandled by the developer or the publisher. On the other hand, his traits are in the universe characters such as Corporate Commander, a parody of Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe, and Demon Joe, an evil Darkspawn version of Joe, that appear on specific reviews during sketches as antagonists that support supposedly distasteful practices in gaming, such as DLC, microtransactions, and broken releases. In 2014, Joe acquired a PS4 and an Xbox One, reviewing games like Killzone, Shadowfall, and later The Order 1886. Joe later bought a Wii U in January 2015 with money donated by Nintendo fans so he could review Wii U exclusives. However, Joe refused to review Nintendo games due to Nintendo's strict copyright policies that didn't allow monetization unless one registered their videos on a Nintendo Creators Program, which was criticized for not granting video monetization rights on day one and giving YouTubers less money than other groups such as Polaris. However, Joe officially made his first ever review of a game on Nintendo's platform with his review of Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch on March 21st, 2017, which he listed as his #1 game of 2017 in his top 10 best games of 2017 video. Furthermore, although he didn't do an angry review of it, Joe also covered Super Mario Odyssey, listing it as his #2 on the top 10 games of 2017 video. In his top 10 games of 2018 video, Joe has mentioned that he may review more Nintendo games in the future, now that Nintendo has ended their controversial Creators Program. Angry rants. These videos aren't reviews, but essentially consists of Joe ranting in a rage over an issue that infuriates him, such as disastrous PC or console game launches, or a controversial announcement covering something that Joe has issues with, such as Microsoft Xbox One announcement, the removal of campaign from Call of Duty Black Ops, or controversial casting decisions in films he's looking forward to. Angry movie reviews are one of Joe's most popular other shows, where Joe reviews a newly released film with a group of his friends after seeing the film in theaters. This group, which mainly consists of other Joe, Alex, and Delrith, debate over the pros and cons of the film and their separate opinions, and awarded a 1 to 10 on a point scale, similar to Joe's angry reviews. To this date, the only films that have ever received a 1 out of 10 were Last Airbender, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. He has given several films a full 10 out of 10, such as Wreck-It Ralph, Avengers: Infinity War, Lego Batman, Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, and John Wick 2. There are two sections of these reviews: the angry movie review, where they express their general opinions on the film, and spoiler sections, where they go over specific plot points of the film that they liked or disliked. They either do both of these sections in one video or do them separately in two videos. Although not technically counting as angry movie reviews, Joe has done crossovers with other critics covering films, most notably his crossover with Nostalgia Critic, covering both Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. Top 10's Joe's second most popular show. At the end of the year, Joe makes top 10 videos about the best games of the year, the worst games of the year, and the most disappointing games of the year, discontinued after 2018, and the ironically controversial top 10 controversies of the year, with the top 10 controversies returning in 2019 after a 5-year hiatus. Top Reasons Why was also discontinued. Joe's third most popular show. In Top Reason Why, Joe discusses some reason why a game may suck, be good, or even excellent in great detail. His most popular video is Top 10 Reasons We Hate Mass Effect 3's Ending, in which he explained why he thought the ending was terrible. Now, with all the facts out of the way, let's get into the almost downfall of Angry Joe. And I want to start it by going off script and just say, yeah, I've been a huge fan of Angry Joe from the beginning. And the only thing I felt when I heard about this accusation against him, which you're about to hear, was disappointment and hoping that I wasn't losing another great creator to something horrible they had done in the past. Now, I will say I am thoroughly convinced that Joe is innocent in this case, but at the same time, I want to start this before I go into any of the descriptions below by saying there is facts from criminal reports that are government criminology reports that show 94% of women who have been sexually assaulted and tell their story are telling the truth. There's only a 6% chance that it is a lie. So believe all women still stands with me. Okay, I want to make that very clear. This is not in any sort of way to diminish the voice of women everywhere in the Me Too movement. And even Joe himself states this when he came out with his own rebuttal to the accusations against him. So Joe stands with me on this point that we should believe all women. And I want to make it clear that this is an outlier situation that happened. And the main reason that I am only featuring this is, number one, to help Joe clear his name, which he doesn't really need help with, as it's pretty obvious he's been cleared, but also to help make people who are false victims, who try to take away the power from real victims out there, call them out as well. Because I feel like the only thing that comes from people making false accusations like this is hurting people believing those who are always telling the truth. And when a large percentage is usually telling the truth, we want to support them, we want to be there for them. This is a horrible epidemic within many entertainment industries. We saw that with Hollywood and with Harvey Weinstein. And I don't want people like this trying to make up lies take away the real voice of the women who were assaulted and do deal with this predatory behavior. So let me make that very clear, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to play someone else reading the accusations online, because the original accusations made by Feeder Queen, who was the original poster of what was alleged happened to her in her situation, as far as I remember it, I'll tell you what I remember, because I can't read the actual post. It is gone. Everything she has ever posted about this accusation is completely wiped off the internet. I went through multiple Reddit posts. I went to her old blog. I went through her old Twitch channel, everything. Wookie Monster, I believe, is her name. And she said that during the time that she was at a video convention with Joe Vargas, Angry Joe, if you will, that he invited her to his hotel room while he took a shower to get ready for a business meeting that he was having later that night. During the time that he was in the shower, he invited her to come in a joking manner, quote unquote. That's according to her, as I remember it verbatim. And then afterwards, when they did get to the business meeting that was at a bar, she felt like she was dragged along to that and wasn't even supposed to be there. Joe made her feel very alienated during that time. And at the end of the meeting, when she just hung around and tried to talk to Joe, instead of being nice and cordial with her, he spun her around, pinned her up against the wall, got up to her face to face and said, "Hey, I see you messaging your boyfriend on your phone this whole time you're with me. You're just here to use me just like every other girl who follows me around." That is what she said he did, according to her claim on her blog that is now completely deleted. I love to put sources in this, but in this case, there is nothing that I can find anywhere on the internet. This girl did a complete scorched earth policy on everything she ever posted about Joe. So what it turned out later was that there was no point with Joe and her ever being alone. First of all, her boyfriend was with her the whole time. He was on the trip with her, and all of Joe's staff was always with him at the same time. Other Joe, Alex, all the other people who hang out with him, probably he has like a full crew of like camera production and everything. And even when they were in the hotel, maybe he did take a shower, but it wasn't just like her sitting on the bed uncomfortably while he took a shower alone and called out to her from the shower. It was like a suite room filled with staff people, and he happened maybe to take a shower during that. We really don't even know if he was taking a shower while she was in the hotel. That's just her story. There is cameras that show them going in and out of the hotel, and it's like a massive group of people. It's her and her boyfriend as well. So that kind of convinced everybody Joe was telling the truth. And then later at the party where there was a business meeting, he showed an email that she had sent earlier that she wanted to come along to that business meeting to network within YouTube to make more YouTube and business contacts. And that was his proof that she wanted to go to this. That's why I invited her along. It wasn't any sort of sexual connotation whatsoever at all. And after he posted that, all the people who were there at the party at the bar said there was like no point where Joe like took her aside to talk or anything. Like Joe was just there having a good time talking to everybody. There was many other creators who could have come forward then who had like nothing to gain or lose from outing Joe if they wanted to. There was other business people who had the same situation who probably would have split off the deal had they seen Joe do something like this, I would imagine. I don't think you'd want someone like that to proliferate within your business continuum. So that's everything that came out. But what I am going to do is I am going to play that gamer from Mars's video where he literally reads out what she wrote on her blog post because it was still up at the time that he read it.
The controversy started on June 20th when a Twitter user named Queen of the Feeders, who I'll be referring to as Ashley, wrote a Medium article entitled My Interaction with Angry Joe. In this article, she told a story about how she met Joe at a party during PAX East in 2018. They apparently got along very well at first, exchanging small talk and pleasantries throughout the night. When the party was over and she returned to her Airbnb, Ashley received a DM from Joe inviting her to his panel the next day, which she happily accepted. In this message, Joe also made some flirtatious comments, but it didn't seem to go that much further. After the panel, Joe took Ashley out to dinner, but first they had to stop at his hotel. Joe invited Ashley up to his room, and even though she was uncomfortable, agreed anyway. When they got there, Joe began to take a shower, which he jokingly asked if she wanted to join. She refused and sat around awkwardly waiting for him to finish before they could go to get dinner. After he got out, he invited her to sit down next to him to talk, at which point she outright told him she felt uncomfortable as she thought that they would be going to dinner. Joe responded by saying that they still were, they just needed to wait for the table to be ready. They made some small talk, Joe pulled out his phone and awkwardly took a selfie of the two of them, and finally they left for the restaurant. When they arrived, Ashley quickly realized that this dinner was a business meeting for Joe, and that she really didn't belong there at all. After some more awkward small talk, Joe took her to a YouTube party where they began getting drunk. At this point, Ashley's boyfriend, who was also at PAX, began calling her, as he hadn't heard from her all day and was beginning to get worried. This is now when a drunk Joe learned that she had a boyfriend, to which he reportedly said, "You're no better than every other girl. I thought you were better than that. You're no better than every other girl who uses me to get contacts and to grow their platform." Following the posting of the article, Joe began to see a fair amount of scrutiny from the online community.
Okay, so there you have it from the quote-unquote victim statement. Nothing legal was ever pursued with this, so there isn't more charges or anything I can bring up from this. The only thing that was legal that was pursued was from Joe's side, in which he got a lawyer involved quickly. He also waited a couple of days before he made a reply in a statement, and I think he did this in a sense to make sure that his decorum and his response to this not only took into account other victims of such crimes like this and make sure to let them know that he's still a believer in the Me Too movement, but in this case, it is just a false accusation. And what a lot of people don't know is behind the scenes, people were actually very against Joe when they heard about this. They thought this was another cryotic situation. And if you don't know about him, he turned out to be a grotesque predator. And a lot of Redditors started to dig in on the information on here and what happened that really broke the case as far as both sides of the internet, both the legal and Joe's side, and also the people who wanted to trash Joe, was they couldn't match anything up from her claims. So for example, she said she was constantly getting calls from her boyfriend while she was on the trip, when later we found out the boyfriend was on the trip, and when they asked her to show them the call logs that showed he was calling from a different place or at a different time, there were none because he was right next to her the whole time. When they tried to get camera footage of the bar time or camera footage of the hotel time or any pictures there with of, she said, "I couldn't have called or talked to my boyfriend or taken any pictures within because I completely forgot my phone, and that's why I felt isolated and didn't have any recordings of how Joe had treated me on this." And then later it was found out she did have pictures with other people on her phone, which they were able to bring up because she had posted them on her Facebook. So she lied about that as well. And this kind of broke her story down more and more until Joe finally came forward with his own statement, which was pretty quick and pretty precise.
It's come to my attention that someone I met at a public event more than 2 years ago and I have had no contact with since is now suddenly leveling allegations against me on social media. I want to be absolutely clear. These allegations are not true, and anyone who looks at the facts can plainly see that. I have no idea why this person has decided to do this to me at this time, but the fact that a defamatory smear posted on the internet can ruin lives these days compels me to make this statement. Here are the facts. This person approached me and my colleagues at a Twitch party introducing herself as a fellow content creator who was interested in hanging out and networking. We exchanged Twitter handles. She then DM'd me that same night at 2:16 a.m. asking to see me again. I agreed and invited her to my public panel the next day, then to a YouTube dinner meeting with account managers afterwards. She showed up to my panel with a male friend who was more than welcome to join us at any point throughout the rest of the day or night after the panel concluded. After my panel, we met up with my friend Other Joe. I referred to him as Little Joe yesterday, my apologies, and we traveled together to the hotel where she chose to wait while I showered and got ready for the dinner. At no point did anything improper happen. I never offered or suggested sex. At the meeting, I helped her network her channels with YouTube partner managers. After the dinner, my friends and I attended another party in a public place. She tagged along. At the party, she checked her bag/belongings. At no point did I ever take her phone or purse or deny her access to them. In fact, she posted photos to her Twitter of her with other people throughout the night. I never grabbed, dragged, pushed, pulled, cornered, or spun her in any direction as she claims. I did not make her stand by my side at all times as she claims. We mingled at the party separately much of the time. All these facts can be confirmed by numerous people who were there that evening, and her own account confirms these events. In her post, she claims that she believed I was pressuring her for sex. This is completely untrue. I never suggested sex. I never spoke about sex. I never touched her inappropriately. She is a grown-up and we were out in public and she could have left at any time. I was just trying to help someone who had expressed interest in the industry and my show. I never imagined this could be a bad thing. Sexual assault is an alarming accusation and should always be taken seriously. If I or anyone had committed an offense, then it should be reported to the police and investigated thoroughly. I urge this person to do that if she believes an offense occurred so I can clear my name. However, instead of affording me due process, she decided to post false claims out of the blue more than 2 years later. The consequence is damage to not only my reputation, career, and brand, but also to those whom I employ, my friends, and my family, all because many people don't bother to examine the facts, only the salacious headline. This is now a serious legal matter. On the advice of my attorneys, all my future statements about this will be through the legal process. My lawyers are sending this person a cease and desist letter. Of course, she is free to express her opinions about me all she wants. What she is not allowed to do is lie about me or defame me to the public and suggest that I am a sexual predator when I am not. If her defamation continues, I will be forced to take further legal action. I have been in the public eye for 12 years now, and all of this frustrates me so much because fabricated and embellished stories like hers do a disservice to victims of sexual harassment and abuse. I want to thank those who resisted the temptation to rush to judgment and took the time to look at the facts. Thank you for your support.
So after I heard this, I thought, well, first of all, this is a pretty decent response, but this is really where we're going to find out if Joe is completely innocent, because something you really start to notice is when these people get accused, when Me Too people finally come out and they let everybody know who their abuser was, one trend I think you will all agree happens is many more abuse victims come out. Every single story I have covered on here with the fall of a YouTuber, one person comes out, that brave Me Too person comes out and says their first bit about what happened to them, which is amazing, it's brave, it's great, and then finally they give the freedom and the bravery to the other people to come forward, and everybody can find out who this horrible person is. But something completely different happened in this situation. First of all, she started deleting everything off of her Twitch channel, off of her YouTube, off of her Twitter. She went back and changed her entire posts. She took down her blog post, and no one else actually came forward. And Joe even asked, he said, if there's other people out there, please come forward and tell me if I've ever treated you badly. One thing a lot of people don't know, and this is something Joe doesn't even really talk about that much, is he's had a very long-term relationship with his girlfriend. They may even be married now, or at least be on the fiancé stage, but he has not changed who he's been dating for a very long time.
And she didn't come forward either about having ever dealt with any kind of problems with Joe. There's never been any ex-girlfriends who have. So he's got a pretty clean past. There's nothing you've ever heard that this guy's done. Even if you remember, and I don't know if you do, but there was a massive downfall of Channel Awesome, where it was Not So Awesome document released on Google, where many of the ex-members talked about how horrible it was to work with some of the staff there, how the management didn't treat them right on set. They were like starving and parched for water. Then they even dealt with sexual assaults from people like Jew Wario, or even just disgusting things said by Spoonie from the past, who, yeah, he didn't make any actual sexual advances on anybody, but some of his messages were pretty creepy. Joe has nothing. There's nothing in his past when he was part of that crew, and he was part of that channel for quite a while. He started the Blistered Thumbs gaming division of the channel. There's no bad reports from him. No one came back later. Mars Girl didn't come back later and say, Joe is one of the worst predators. I can't believe it. There's nothing. So there's not been a history with this guy. His history stayed clear, and even when this accusation came out, other accusers didn't come out as well. And everything this accuser did come out with was deleted in a follow-up.
Enough, obviously, off the back end of the statement, Joe posted this. I also want to make clear, in her own follow-up tweets, she walks back her story, now claims that I never assaulted her, which, yeah, is the case. And it says, I will be taking a step back from Twitter. It amazes me that people think the little follows I'm getting somehow outweigh all the backlash and result in clout monetary gain. I never said he assaulted me. I said his actions were predatory because they were. Thank you. And then it continues, thank you to those who have supported me. No, I'm not ignoring you. I won't delete or hide anything regardless of what happens, because it needs to be known that I need to take time for.
So we actually have one of these, an almost fall of a creator we were worried was going to come out as some sort of predator, or some sort of accusation was going to be found to be laying on him. It turns out this guy is clear. Angry Joe prevails at the end, and I think the best thing about it is that he handled it in a very professional and how would you say, polite way, I suppose. Just speaking completely off script here, I have to say I really enjoyed the fact that he didn't try to dismiss the victim. He didn't try to demean the victim. He didn't use any insults. He didn't attack the way she looked or anything like that. There was no sort of verbal attacks as far as that. He went strictly business. He went strictly with an account of what happened, and then he went strictly legal. Now, afterwards, there was a lot of people who still didn't believe Joe. On Reddit, there was a whole investigation team that tried to go after him, but instead ended up completely proving Wookiee Monster TV wrong, to the point that if you go back now and try to read all the investigation they did, a lot of the links, pictures, files, and everything that they brought up trying to find Joe guilty are all deleted by her. So there's not even a huge backlog of stuff to be able to go through. Otherwise, I would have read it out myself. What I did find was multiple Reddit posts that were like, yeah, this isn't really making a lot of sense. I remember the number one upvoted post on that investigation team was, this story has more plot holes than The Last of Us 2. So yeah, it didn't even turn out for the people who were trying to hunt Joe down. At the end, even they had to admit defeat and realize that they had been lied to by this girl who has now the Queen of Feeders, Wookiee Monster TV, deleted everything from the internet. She may still have her Twitter. If she does, I can't find it. She may have changed the name of the Twitter. And on top of it, her Twitch is gone. Joe didn't lose any sponsors. Joe didn't lose any contracts. Joe didn't have a dip in viewers or subscribers. He just had a bit of a accusation thrown his way, and then he came back at it saying, believe all victims. But in this case, I promise you, I've done nothing wrong. Look into it as much as you want. Report me to the police if you need to. Here's my side of the story. Take with it what you will and make of it what you will. And everybody did, and they found Joe completely innocent. So my very first video on here where I get to end it with a happy ending. Thank goodness. Finally, a creator from my past who I've watched for ages, loved his content, and when it turns out that he might be accused of something horrible where I can't watch him anymore because I'm disgusted by his past actions, it turns out he's okay. So yes, once again, I want to end this by saying, believe all victims. 94%, those Me Too aspect of our society is very real. It's a very big problem in the entertainment industry. And this is something I've talked about many times before in the past. So I'm not here to dismiss any of that. I just wanted to show a sort of light at the end of the tunnel that sometimes, just sometimes, there can be stories that turn out where the guy is not the creepola, and they're, I guess, being grabbed onto. I don't know what her point was for this. Maybe to get clout, maybe she had some kind of vendetta against Joe. We couldn't find any connection to her and him in the past. Like, he literally showed the email she had sent where she had asked to network with people, and he was putting out an olive branch and letting her do that through his business contacts. And I guess maybe her career was kind of flopping for the time, so she thought I could get some clout by shouting out the biggest YouTuber I ever got to hang out with, Angry Joe. That's the only thing I can think of. And while that sounds very harsh, and I don't have, any, accounts to back that up, that she was, some sort of hanger-on, some sort of tail rider, that's the only thing we can really come to a conclusion on here. But that's also where I wanted to open it up to you guys, the audience. What do you feel went down in this situation? Why was this girl so intent on accusing Joe? Do you still believe this girl? Do you feel like there's some sort of evidence, or did you find out something way later that I didn't even talk about in this video? I'm open to some other source if you guys found something, but I mean, it seems pretty clear, as the Reddit team that went after Joe for this, they themselves came forward and said, look, we tried to get him, all the accusations proven against him, and we couldn't find anything. She didn't have anything to back up what she was talking about. She had her phone the whole time. She didn't have messages from her boyfriend because her boyfriend was there the whole time. She had photos of herself and other people that she took that were like selfie photos, so she was holding the camera when she took them. So Joe never took her phone away like she says. We don't know what to say. She's lying. Like, that's all they could come to. What do you guys think? Why would she do this? Why would she go after Joe like this? What was her point? Was she reaching for clout? Was she desperate for a little bit of notoriety through this movement? And how badly do you think it affects the real victims of Me Too? I want to hear it from you guys' perspective. As always, I've been the Inksmith, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.